All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a call for abstracts.
Oh, cool.
And, for anyone who's not familiar with the term, basically a call for abstracts is basically an invitation for researchers to submit their work to a conference. So in this case, the conference is called Reconfiguring Communication Discipline in a Post-Truth Society.
Ooh, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah, and this one caught my eye because I'm really interested in how we communicate nowadays.
Right.
Especially with, how much misinformation is flying around.
Yeah, with the whole post-truth thing. I mean, it feels like everybody's got their own facts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes it really hard to even have a discussion.
Yeah.
When you can't agree on what's true.
Totally. And how do you even begin to communicate in that kind of environment?
So I'm excited to see what kind of research is being presented at this conference.
Yeah, me too. And I'm also curious about the people behind it, because it looks like there are a few different organizations involved.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
We've got the Polytechnic, University of the Philippines, Universitas Amikom, Yogyakarta, and the Pacific and Asian Communication Association, all working together on this. So that right there tells you something about how widespread this issue is.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that.
And how important it is to address it.
Yeah, it's not just like one university's pet project or something.
Right, exactly. It's something that people are recognizing as a global challenge.
Yeah, a global challenge.
And it's not just some little local conference either. It's virtual, so anybody from anywhere in the world can participate.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So let's dig into some of the details of the call for abstracts.
Okay, sounds good.
One thing that jumped out at me is that they're using a double-blind peer review process.
Oh, yeah, that's really important for maintaining academic rigor.
Can you explain what that means for people who might not be familiar with academic jargon?
Sure. So basically, double-blind peer review means that the reviewers who are evaluating the submissions don't know who the authors are.
Okay.
And the authors don't know who the reviewers are either.
So it's like a secret?
Yeah, kind of. It's all about making sure that the evaluation is as objective and impartial as possible.
That makes sense.
So, you don't have any personal biases or relationships influencing the decisions.
So you're saying, like, if I submitted something to this conference, my friend couldn't be one of the reviewers?
Right.
Because they might be tempted to give me a good review, even if my work wasn't that great.
Exactly. Or, even if they weren't consciously trying to be biased, there's always the possibility of subconscious bias.
Right.
So the double-blind system helps to eliminate that as much as possible.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it's especially important in a field like communication, which can be very subjective.
Right.
Because you're dealing with ideas and interpretations and perspectives.
Exactly.
So it's crucial to have a system in place that ensures that the research being presented is as solid and as credible as possible.
Especially when the very nature of truth is being questioned.
Right, exactly.
Like an extra layer of quality control.
Exactly.
Which is really important when we're talking about something as fundamental as communication.
Absolutely. And another thing that's great about this conference is that registration is free for accepted participants.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
So they're not putting a price tag on knowledge.
Yeah, it makes it more accessible to people who might not be able to afford a registration fee.
Exactly.
Though I did notice that even co-authors need to register separately.
Oh, yeah.
That seems a little bit like a logistical nightmare.
I know. Can you imagine trying to wrangle all those academics to fill out their forms on time?
I mean, we're talking about a lot of people who probably have very strong opinions about the Oxford comma.
Oh, totally.
And, all the other nuances of academic writing.
Yeah.
So to get them all to agree on a single registration form seems like a recipe for disaster.
But hey, maybe that's part of the challenge of reconfiguring communication. Figuring out how to collaborate effectively, even when it comes to the small stuff.
Maybe that's what they're testing. By making everyone register separately.
Could be.
Like some sort of secret experiment.
A social experiment.
Exactly.
I like it.
But speaking of the big picture, I think it's worth noting that this conference is being held in the Philippines.
Yeah, that's a really interesting location.
Right, because it's a region with its own unique socio-political landscape.
Totally.
And I'm curious to see how that influences the discussions and perspectives at the conference.
Yeah, me too.
Like, could Asian communication philosophies offer different ways of approaching this post-truth challenge?
That's a great question.
Right, because we tend to think of the post-truth phenomenon as a Western problem, but it's clearly a global issue.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that there are many different ways of understanding and addressing it.
Exactly.
So I'm really curious to see what kind of insights and perspectives come out of this conference.
Yeah, me too.
And hopefully they'll be able to share some of those insights with the wider world.
Well, for anyone listening who's interested in learning more, we've included a link to the conference Facebook page in the show notes.
Oh, great.
And you can also contact Dr. Rudolph Anthony A. Lacerna, who's one of the organizers.
Okay.
If you have any questions.
Perfect.
So go explore. This call for abstracts is like a glimpse into this vital, ongoing conversation.
It really is.
About how we communicate in a world where truth is constantly being negotiated.
And it leaves us with a question for all of you listening. How do you think we need to reconfigure communication to navigate this post-truth landscape?
It's a big question, but one worth pondering.
Definitely.
So keep those brain gears turning. And as always, stay curious.